Hello and welcome to Angels of Purpose Ministries, where we feed your soul food, food for your soul. And for our Let's Talk About It series, I have a guest today, and it's Miss Cameron Horace, 6 years old, right? In first grade? All right. And so we are going to talk about why Black history is world history and why Black history is important. We're also going to tie it in with our Sunday school lesson today. So she said she wanted to be a part of it, so we are going to do that. First and foremost, I'm going to give you our case in reference to why Black history is important. But while I'm doing that, let's go ahead and see what Miss Cam know about Black history. What are some great innovators you know in Black history? Let us know.
So in school, when I do social studies, we learn about George Washington Carver, Martin Luther King Jr., and Ruby Bridges and all the other presidents in the world.
Okay, so tell me about Ruby Bridges. What did she do?
So she took a special test in kindergarten, and she passed it. She was picked to go to a light school, but people started to be mean to her and saying ugly words to her. So she had federal marshals by her side because whoever wanted to whoever
wanted to hurt her, they were make sure they couldn't do it, right? And Ruby Bridges, when she was going to school, she was integrating an elementary school. So I'm glad they taught you about Ruby Bridges. And you said George Washington Carver. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about George Washington Carver there. What did he do?
He created products from peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans. And he made shaving cream, ink, and mayo. And he made something with sweet potatoes and soybeans, which we don't know what that is, what he created, but he created something else.
Okay, and tell us, who was the first Black president?
Martin Luther King Jr.?
No. The first Black president was President Barack Obama in 2008. But Martin Luther King Jr. led the civil rights. He was a preacher. Martin Luther King Jr. was a preacher.
And then his dad was a preacher too.
Yep, and his original name was Michael, him and his dad, and he changed it to Martin Luther. All right, so I want you all to imagine a world without these great innovators, Black innovators that most people don't learn about in school. A lot of times, they'll tell you about what George Washington Carver. I'm glad they're talking about Ruby Bridges now because of the movies that come out. Now you'll see the ones with Hidden Figures with Dr. Gladys West, Miss Johnson, and those who were the computers that helped with NASA, right? You'll hear about maybe Malcolm X, maybe Medgar Evers. You'll hear about Rosa Parks. You'll hear about maybe Ida B. Wells. You'll hear about Mary McLeod Bethune. But you may not.
Roosevelt?
No. But most of the times they don't go deeper into that. And so it makes it seem like that a lot of the inventions and a lot of the innovators were not people of color, were not Black. But that is wrong. We have hundreds and thousands of Black innovators. Let's tell you this. Imagine a world without the traffic light or the refrigerated truck or even a technology that helped put a man on the moon. If we didn't study Black innovators, we would be missing a huge part of the story of how the modern world was built. Learning about these innovators and thinkers isn't just about history. It's about understanding how creativity and persistence can change a world for everyone.
That's how we got Black History Month.
So, With this, many people that think that history is just a list of names in a textbook, but Black innovators created tools we use every single day. Garrett Morgan, he invented the 3-light traffic signal, okay? Before him, cars and carriages often crashed because there was no yellow light to tell people to slow down. Now just think about that. How many people knew about that? Now, I know I've been talking about that on my podcast. And I didn't say the name because I wanted people to research it. But now I'm giving it to you because the past 2 days I've been telling you about the person who invented the 3-way traffic light. He also invented the gas mask and different other things. He invented about 5 things. So look them up, research them so you can know for yourself. Okay? Also, we have Frederick McKinley Jones. He invented the cooling system for trucks, which allows to eat fresh food from all over the country and all over the world. Without him, our grocery store wouldn't have a produce or dairy section. Did you know that?
Yes. Or
Did you know that? Our refrigerators. Now,
Yes.
I'm going to tell you this. I didn't know till I did my research that he invented this. Now, again, if you go out into the world, especially the European, North America, and the United States, you're not taught about all these great Black innovators and leaders. They want you to think that like Martin Luther King Jr. was an exception to the rule, that Louis Latimer was an exception to the rule. They were bright people and not many of us are bright. But we, our ancestors, our predecessors who came before us, and still the people now who are here currently are great innovators and do a lot of things that if they wouldn't have done it, we wouldn't be living in comfort like we are now. We wouldn't have fresh food like we do now. We wouldn't have caller ID. We wouldn't have central heating system like we talked about Dr. Alice Parker. We wouldn't have GPS system like we talked about with Gladys West.
Clothes.
A whole bunch of things. All right. So Alice Parker, we highlighted her yesterday. She designed a central heating system that used natural gas, paving the way for how we keep our homes warm today. Okay. Now, when we learn about these individuals, we realize that innovation isn't owned by one group of people. It's a human superpower. All right. So overcoming the odds. And hold on one moment here so we can get both of us in the screen here. Now, overcoming the odds. One of the most important reasons to study Black innovators is to see their resilience. Many of these geniuses lived during times when laws were unfair and they weren't allowed to go to certain schools or even own property. Take George Washington Carver
as an example.
He
was born into a slave.
Yet he became one of the greatest scientists in history, discovering hundreds of uses for peanuts and helping poor farmers improve their soil. Now, Miss Cam told you about George Washington Carver earlier. We're just giving you a little bit more detail in reference to that. So over 100 uses for peanuts.
Learning his story teaches us that your starting point doesn't
define your finish line. It shows students that brilliance can come from anywhere, even when things are difficult. Now, if you only see inventors who look one way, you might start to think that scientists or engineers is a job only for a certain group of people.
No, but they're wrong. But everyone can be whatever they want.
That is right, Miss Cam. By studying Black innovators like Katherine Johnson, the NASA mathematician who calculated the flight paths for astronauts that allowed the first astronaut to walk on the moon, because of her help, without her, we wouldn't have been able to beat the Russians, the Soviet Union, getting into space and walking on the moon. Okay? Representation matters. Every student can see themselves as a future leader. It proves that a great idea doesn't have a race. It just needs a curious mind. Now, our conclusion to this. Black innovators didn't just make Black history, they made world history. By learning about them in school, we get a more honest and exciting picture of how we got to where we are today. Their stories inspire us to be problem solvers and remind us that a single idea can change the lives of millions. And now also, guys, as I spoke to you on yesterday, I highlighted Ms. Dr. Alice Parker, and I also highlighted Mansa Musa as a black world figure who had the most money ever in the history of the world, who came from the continent of Africa, who was the leader, that most people don't, teach you about and different things like that, right? You really don't hear many people teaching kids about Garrett Morgan. You just heard Cam, who they learn about in school, Ruby Bridges, they learn about Martin Luther King Jr., George Washington Carver. Sometimes they may speak about W.B. Du Bois, but a lot of times, and sometimes in literature, they may talk about Langston Hughes,
and Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, so Abraham Lincoln was a Caucasian leader, and a lot of times in schools and different things, and in the community and in the world.
And he had a lot of children. He probably had like 7 children.
But since we're focusing on black leaders and black innovators, we want to make sure that people know that don't let people put you down or think your history or your ancestors or your predecessors couldn't create different things without European leaders or without people who were not of color, right? Because great things come from people of color. Great things come from black leaders, black innovators. Even before the Europeans went to Africa, the continent of Africa was doing a whole lot of great things. That's why the Europeans wanted to control the continent of Africa because of all its greatest resources, which is people worldwide. A lot of Africans, which they wouldn't give Africans credit, a lot of Africans had ideas and they were very smart and intelligent and could create things. But once they brought them over from Africa and brought them into the slave trade, then guess what? Other people took credit for the inventions that the Africans were doing. And then even before that, you have great leaders in different countries that people don't even know were black, that went over, the Moors who went over to different countries and all of that, and are left out of history. About the great things they did as they traveled in the boats and different things. Now, I just want to get you a little bit inspired and want you to go and research. Now, the person we are going to focus on today, because yesterday I did a female in the United States. Now I'm going to do Frederick McKinley Jones. He invented the cooling system for trucks, so the cooling refrigeration systems for the trucks. Frederick McKinley Jones did that. Great innovator who thought of that. Also, it allows us to eat fresh food from all over the country, and we use that same idea for the refrigerators.
Your grocery store would not have a proof.
And also grocery stores utilize his invention as well.
So, if we did not have no refrigerators to keep our food cold, like if we did not have a freezer, a sink, black innovators create that.
Yes, black innovators created that. And that helps create for spoiling.
She designed a central heating system.
Yep, and talked about Alice Parker yesterday, but today our spotlight is on Frederick McKinley Jones. And then our world black innovator, let's see who we're going to talk about today, because we spoke about yesterday, Mansa Musa. So let's see who I'm going to pick out today to talk about for you. And then we're going to end this because I got to do Sunday school. Sunday school is about to start. So I really want to talk about, let's see, I did a black male world innovator yesterday. So let's see who we're going to have. I might do one from, let's do one from Africa again. Let's see who I'm going to choose.
Africa.
Let's see who I'm going to choose today. And these are things you can go and research so you will know for yourself. And just so that you have the information. Okay? All right, so Richard Ture from Kenya, he was the inventor of what is called the Lion Lights, a solar-powered LED system that scares predators away from livestock without harming them, fostering wildlife coexistence. Okay, so Richard Ture, he is one of the ones that we are going to spotlight for the world leader. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to spotlight someone who had a political impact on the continent of Africa. And I'm not going to give you his name, but you can go ahead and research it and try to find out and see if you can find his name, who tried to unify Africa. So that is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'll give you a hint because it's sort of hard for me to hold that because, I studied him when I was in middle school, when I was a kid. I researched him, looked him up. So we want to make sure we talk to you about him. Talk to you about him on tomorrow. But like I said, I will give you a hint of who it is. So he is going to be somebody who, again, he tried to unify Africa, and then some say that the CIA worked along with the government in his specific country to get him killed. So he was one of the ones, like in the 1970s, 80s, trying to unify Africa. Okay? All right. Well, I hope you learned something. Pass this along. I will upload this to YouTube later on today when I upload the church things and all of that. All right. Have a blessed and prosperous day. Bye. And thank you for joining us about our Black History Celebration month and spotlighting. Who did we spotlight? Spotlighting who created the refrigeration system for trucks and who created the lighting system or solar that keep wildlife from attacking the animals in Africa. Okay? All right. So we will talk to you soon. Thank you.